All right, today we're diving into a book that has completely changed the game for so many people when it comes to self-improvement. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the core idea? It's that real, lasting change doesn't come from some huge, monumental effort. Nope. It comes from the combined effect of hundreds of tiny decisions, these little atomic habits that you do every single day. And for James Clear, this powerful idea started with a moment that almost ended his life.
So picture this. It's the last day of his sophomore year in high school, a baseball game, and out of nowhere, a stray bat flies through the air and smashes right into his face. The damage? It was catastrophic. A broken nose, multiple skull fractures, his brain was swelling dangerously. Doctors had to put him in a medically induced coma. It was just this terrifying, life-altering event. And his recovery, wow, it was painfully slow. We're talking months just to get back the most basic motor functions. But it was through that grueling process, taking these tiny, almost unnoticeable steps forward, one small walk today, going to bed a little earlier tomorrow, that he started to have this huge realization about a fundamental truth of how we actually get better.
And this gets to the absolute core of the book. It's this: you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And the best, most effective systems, they're built on a foundation of these incredibly small, incremental improvements. This right here is the magic number. The idea is so simple but so powerful. If you can just get 1% better each day, by the end of the year, you'll be a staggering 37 times better. It's basically compounding interest, but for your personal life. On any given day, you barely notice the change, but the long-term result, it's absolutely massive.
Okay, let's look at a real-world example of this 1% rule that will just blow your mind. For almost 100 years, the British cycling team they were mediocre, a total non-factor. Then, in 2003, they hired a guy named Dave Brailsford, and his whole strategy was something he called the aggregation of marginal gains. He believed if you could just improve every single tiny thing by just 1%, you'd get this huge leap in overall performance. And he meant everything, from redesigning bike seats to testing massage gels to even finding the perfect pillow for each rider to get a better night's sleep.
And the results? Well, they're just incredible. Only 5 years after Brailsford took over, the team went to the 2008 Beijing Olympics and won 60% of the available gold medals. 4 years later in London, they did even better, setting 9 Olympic records. Over the next decade, they won 178 world championships and 5 Tour de France titles. All those tiny 1% gains had compounded into an absolute avalanche of success.
Okay, so if these tiny changes are so powerful, why is it so darn hard for us to stick with them? The problem is all about our expectations. We expect progress to be a straight line, right? And when it isn't, we get discouraged and we quit. Here's the thing you got to remember. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are always delayed. It doesn't matter if you're investing money, learning an instrument, or getting in shape. In the beginning, the gains feel frustratingly small. The biggest rewards always come much, much later. This graph from the book, it explains everything. That top line is what we think should happen. We put in the work, we expect immediate results. But the bottom curve is what actually happens. And that gap in between, that's what James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. It's that tough period where you feel like you're working your tail off and getting nowhere, even though you're secretly building the foundation for a massive breakthrough.
And this quote, it just perfectly captures that feeling. Every single hammer swing is storing up potential. That one final blow that splits the rock isn't the one that did all the work. It was the 100 that came before it. You just have to keep hammering the rock. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we build habits that stick and get us through that valley of disappointment? Clear gives us a really practical, simple framework. He says every habit has a 4-step loop. There's a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. And to build good habits, we just need to hack that loop using 4 simple laws. And here they are, the 4 laws. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Seriously, that's it. Think of them like 4 levers that you can pull to basically engineer your own behavior. They're super simple to remember, and they're incredibly effective.
All right, let's see how these laws actually work in the real world with some concrete examples.
Okay, law number 1, make it obvious. Our environment is way more important than we think. There was a study where a hospital cafeteria wanted people to drink more water.
They didn't run a big drink more water campaign. They just put more water bottles in all the drink stations and right next to the cash registers. The result? Water sales shot up by over 25%. They simply made the cue for the good habit impossible to miss. Law 2, make it attractive, taps into something deep inside all of us, our powerful need to fit in. We are absolute magnets for the habits of the groups we belong to. If a behavior is seen as attractive or normal in our culture, whether that's our family, our friends, or our workplace, we're way more likely to adopt it ourselves.
And then there's Law 3, make it easy. This one is all about getting your reps in. It's about action, not perfection. There's this great story about a photography professor who split his class in two. He told the quantity group they'd be graded purely on the number of photos they submitted. The quality group only needed to submit one single perfect photo. Well, at the end of the semester, where did all the best photos come from? The quantity group. Why? Because they weren't trying to be perfect. They just took hundreds of pictures, learned from their mistakes, and got better through practice.
And finally, Law 4, make it satisfying. See, our brains are hardwired to want rewards now, not later. A young stockbroker named Trent Dyersmid figured out a genius way to use this. Every morning, he put 120 paper clips in one jar, and after every single sales call he made, he'd move one paper clip into a second empty jar. It was this simple, clear, visual way to make his effort immediately satisfying and to actually see his progress happening in real time.
Now, what's really cool is that this whole framework works in reverse. If you want to break a bad habit, you don't have to fight it with willpower alone. You just invert these 4 laws.
It's really straightforward. You just flip each law on its head. To break a bad habit, you want to make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. So if you want to watch less TV, make the cue invisible. Unplug the TV and put the remote in a different room. Trying to eat healthier, make junk food unattractive by reframing your thoughts. You're not giving up traits, you're choosing to fuel your body with energy. It's all about adding friction and making the bad habit less rewarding. But, this book is about so much more than just productivity hacks or breaking bad habits. The real goal here isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become.
So it really comes down to this one powerful question. True, lasting behavior change is really identity change. Every single action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to be. You're not just doing a habit, you're building an identity.
And this is such a huge shift in thinking. An outcome-based goal is something like, the goal is to run a marathon. An identity-based goal is, the goal is to become a runner. See the difference? The first one is a finish line. The second one is a fundamental shift in how you see yourself, and that is way, way more powerful for long-term change. You start making choices that align with that new identity, one tiny run at a time.
And that's where the name of the book, Atomic Habits, really clicks into place. The word atomic has 2 meanings. First, it means an extremely small, tiny thing, an irreducible unit. But it also refers to the source of immense power. An atomic habit is both. It's that single tiny vote you cast that, when compounded over and over again, builds the undeniable evidence of your new identity.
So I'll leave you with this. What's the one atomic habit, that one tiny change, that you can make today that would be your first step toward becoming the person you truly want to be?